All right. Well, welcome everyone. We thank you for joining us this evening on the day that Zoom went down worldwide. We're very lucky and happy that we were able to get everything back up and running and able to join you and your families tonight through Zoom. I am Donna Dunham. I am the head counselor at Walton High School, and I am just very thankful that you're able to join us tonight. We do ask that you hold your questions to the end. If you'll post your questions in the chat, we will make sure we answer those at the end of the presentation, but we're hoping a lot of your questions will be answered due to the presentation itself. We are recording this presentation to be able to post it to our brand new school counseling website in the next few days. So we are going to record this presentation tonight. For those that are interested in attending the second presentation, the second session on the highly selective colleges, we will transition during the question and answer session for those families who want to exit this Zoom and transfer into the second Zoom session. We did discover this earlier today that you will need to close your Zoom out and enter that other link to relaunch the Zoom for it to work. We also have that code posted on the last slide if you want to manually enter the code and the password for that second Zoom. There will be a question and answer session at the end of each section, so we want to try to answer everybody's questions. So welcome. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have 7 counselors, 6 full-time counselors with alphabetical assignments. We are welcoming Ms. Alpert to the team this year. Ms. Rangel received a great job offer and was able to move to the North Georgia mountains, so we're very happy and excited for her, and very lucky that we were able to get Ms. Alpert to join our team. She's here with us this evening. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I am Betsy Alpert, and like Mrs. Dunham said, I'm really excited to be joining everybody at Walton. Just to give you a very quick background, I was a school counselor at Marietta High School for the past 8 years. And so, as I like to say, this is not my first rodeo. So I have been doing this for many, many years. And prior to that, I was a Spanish teacher at Kennesaw Mountain High School, and then also in Peachtree City. I also taught Spanish at Emory. And then I also worked for 4 years as a graduate assistant at UGA with instructional technology. So I kind of have a little bit of background in lots of different areas, but school counseling is definitely my passion, and I'm really excited to be here and to work with you all. And just a quick note, if you do have a child who has not yet reached out to me with their recommendation packet, which I know we'll get into that in a little bit, but they are more than welcome to email me, and then I'm happy to set up a time to talk to your child just so I can get to know them better. But I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to meeting everybody, hopefully sooner than later, face-to-face. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Alpert. And I'm going to go back to share screen now for the presentation. One moment, technical difficulties. Let me try to get it back to presenter mode. All right, we'll have to proceed as it is because it will not let me go back to presenter mode, so I apologize for that. The rest of our counseling team is the same, and we all look forward to working with your students this year in that college application process. In addition to the counselors, we have 2 great support staff. Ms. Gross, our college advisor, whom many of you probably spoke with last year as your students were beginning their research process. We also have Ms. Shrink, who will be helping us with the transcript submission process this year. She's been our records clerk at Walton for many years, and she's just a great addition to our team. So this evening, we're going to talk about big picture items with the college application process, all those changes in the SAT and ACT and how colleges are managing those, reduced test opportunities that students have encountered. We're going to talk about the application process and the steps of Naviance and how we're going to support the students in that. We're going to talk a little bit about financial aid tonight, but we're going to have a separate presentation in a few months that will have a special speaker help our families with a lot of those questions. And we're also going to have some tips on essay writing tonight as well. So the big factors that the students will be evaluated upon when the colleges first look at their application. They're going to, of course, look at the classes that the student has taken and how those classes are preparing them for the collegiate world, because, of course, the colleges want students who are well prepared for their college classes, and in many cases, are they prepared for the intended major if they haven't made that selection. Of course, the college is also looking at how the student has performed in those classes, and have they shown some mastery, and have they had an upward trend perhaps in their GPA over the course of their high school experience. Traditionally, test scores have also been a critical factor with that, but as you probably have seen in your college research over the summer months, many of the colleges are tweaking that process this year because of the reduced opportunities students have with those testing. Some of the colleges will only look at those primary factors and make a decision based upon where the student fits in their applicant pool. However, luckily, a lot of the colleges are looking at the students more holistically, where they are evaluating them in a bigger context and how the student has been affected by life and has made a contribution in our community and in our school. A lot of colleges are putting a lot of weight now in the essays because some colleges aren't able to do the interview process. So the colleges are really trying to get to know the student better through their essay. We'll talk about this in a moment, but with the essays, it's really an opportunity for students to expound about themselves in lieu of that interview, where they want to share information that maybe is a little bit beyond the questions of their application. It's an opportunity to give the college another aspect of the student because they are diamonds and they do have many glorious facets to themselves, and this is an opportunity for them to also be able to shine. A lot of the colleges do want to know about their extracurricular activities, what passions they have found while they're in high school, how they pursue those passions and been affected by those. Letters of recommendation have also become an important factor for some colleges because, again, the college wants to see the student beyond just the application. How have they reacted to perhaps challenging situations? How have they grown in those opportunities? How have they interacted with their peers with collaboration opportunities, for example? Because those are the factors that a lot of employers are looking for, and so colleges are beginning to really focus on those soft skills, if you will, as well. With the letters of recommendation, many of the colleges want those from junior or senior year teachers, and so a lot of our junior teachers, this is the time that the students are reaching out to those teachers to see if they'll be willing to write that recommendation on their behalf. Demonstrated interest may look a little bit different now in our COVID world than perhaps it did if you've had an older student. But there are some colleges, especially those highly selective colleges, that want to know the student has really vetted the school and feel that the school is going to be a good opportunity for them. They've researched majors, they've researched different things about the school. They've participated in opportunities such as college visits, even if those visits are in our virtual world, with a lot of the colleges offering those online opportunities now, as well as the student reached out to the school when they have had specific questions that are beyond just general information on the college's website. Okay. So again, for the recommendation process, we do ask the students to first reach out to the teacher via email to inquire whether the teacher is willing to write that recommendation on their behalf. That step does need to be completed before the student were to invite the teacher in Naviance, just as if we were in school and the student approached the teacher before class one day. We still want those additional contacts to be done before the Naviance request happens. With the essay, again, it is an opportunity for the student to demonstrate their writing ability and for them to really express themselves and their interests and how they have been, affected by life and how they've learned and have grown from it. But also, of course, it needs to be a well-written essay. We talked about demonstrated interest, so hopefully that is something that your student has done their research and has approached the college if they did have questions. Some colleges do not care about demonstrated interest, but those highly selective schools do. So make sure to encourage your students to reach out to the college and participate in the virtual visits, for example, for those schools that do monitor whether the student is doing the research to make sure the college is truly where they want to apply. Extracurricular activities is looking a little bit different, of course, in this COVID world, and colleges understand that. And so we added in opportunities such as, is the student assisting the family at home with perhaps younger siblings now that everybody is starting school at home? Has the student needed to perhaps take care of an older family member? Those kind of opportunities, even though they may look a little different than a traditional extracurricular activity, those are the activities that the college also wants to know about. Have they had an opportunity to be involved in the community? Because the colleges really want to see students on their campus that will be involved, and so one way to demonstrate that is really showing that through the application that the student has been a well-rounded student and contributed in that way as well. Okay. All right, so of course, college admissions looks different right now as it did in the spring of last year. With standardized testing, many colleges have went test optional this year because, let's face it, there have been fewer test opportunities for our students. And so with the test optional, some colleges are putting more weight in other parts of their application. Some colleges are allowing students to submit other additional information as supplements, including test scores if they have those. For those colleges that are test optional, many of them are still encouraging students to submit their test scores if they do have them because they're using them for honors program acceptance or for scholarships. And so we do feel it's very important to still try to take the SAT and ACT this year if your student was not able to test last year. Dr. Melanda has fought really hard to try to maintain the test dates that we applied for the testing agency, and we'll talk a little bit about those later. For college visits, we talked about trying to participate in those virtual opportunities. Many of the colleges, our COVID crisis has given them a chance to reflect because they have been doing college admissions and college visits the same way for years. And so many of them are now doing a much better job with their advertising and through the virtual platform because of our situation. And I think a lot of our students will benefit from the many ways colleges are trying to reach out to our students to make sure that they know that those colleges are there and are interested in our great Walton population. For the Common Application, they have added a essay question this year related to COVID-19 and the effect it may have had on individual students' life these last several months. And so it's an opportunity for students not to have that regular Common App essay only on the COVID-19 question. It's really a chance for students to express, that impact, but also have the opportunity to show their other multifacetedness through their main essay as well. We definitely encourage students to check the college's website very frequently during this fall season of applications, because we are getting emails daily, and many times multiple colleges are emailing us each and every day because they're still modifying their admissions process on their sides. Some of them have moved their deadlines back to give students more opportunity to complete a grade application and to take an SAT or ACT. So just make sure that each and every student is paying attention to the college's website for any adjustments that the college may make during the school year as well. Okay. So we're frequently asked how many colleges is a good number of colleges for students to apply to. And that honestly varies student to student pretty greatly. We've had some students apply to their dream school. They get in under an early admissions deadline, and they feel like they're done and don't have a need to apply to other schools. We have other students that are really looking for opportunities, maybe scholarship opportunities or honors program opportunities, and so they may have a much broader list of schools that they're applying to. So my wisdom for students who ask that question is to look at their list of schools to make sure they can do a great job with each and every application. For those students who've applied to many schools, many of the students find themselves spread pretty thinly, especially when the colleges have perhaps a different essay question, and the students are really having to respond to each application with plenty of time, and just making sure that they have enough time and energy to meet that deadline. A lot of our students will apply to that a dream school, that reach school, where perhaps the student may fall slightly outside of the statistics of that college. But I'm a big believer in you won't know unless you try. And so we do not discourage students from applying to those dream schools. But on the other side, we always encourage them to have some very strong likely schools that they apply to as well. With the likely schools, students are, to consider a school a likely school, we encourage the student to look at the statistics of the college, and if they are well above the average statistics of the college, then that may be a school that they could put in that likely list. With the likely schools, we definitely encourage the students to have that heartfelt reflection to make sure that that school will be somewhere that they feel like they could get a great education and be happy. Because sometimes even if our students are starting at a different school with the hope of transferring later, it's still very, very important that they get a solid foundation, because sometimes what we see is that the student will fall in love with that first school and choose to stay there. So I would say 6 is an average, but we definitely have seen students apply to more schools than that. And so just encouraging your student to be reflective with their list and make sure that they've got some really strong likely schools in there, and that they truly have the time and energy and ability to be able to do each application, do a great job with each application, that they're not spreading themselves too thinly. Okay. So again, when students are trying to find that perfect school, each student has different factors that are important to them and to your family as a whole. Perhaps it is the size of the school, because we have some students that really would benefit from a smaller environment, that a college as large as Walton may not be their best opportunity. For other students, location is key, because in our COVID world, perhaps they need to stay a little bit closer to home right now. Of course, academic programs, especially if your student is looking for a particular major, is very important as well. Campus life, I know, looks a little bit different right now with some of the universities starting virtually as well. But we're not going to be in this situation forever, so really encouraging your student to look at the university and what type of campus life they have, what type of housing. Doing that research is very important for the long term, even though things may be a little bit different right now in our short-term world. Important to a lot of our parents is also the graduation rate or retention rate of the college. Many of our colleges are seeing students transfer, and it's interesting to look at that retention rate and how many students return for that second year, and perhaps looking at the reason that some of the students may be transferring to other schools from that university. Is there a reason for that? Is a good reflection question as well. Does the college have a high graduation rate? Do students who start there tend to graduate within a 4-year or a 5-year track for some programs? Job placement services is also very important, of course, because you want to make sure that the student has support at that collegiate level for pursuing those next steps. Is the university bringing some great employers to campus for recruitment opportunities of those students? Financial aid is also important. Many of the colleges will say, don't rule us out just based upon our ticket or our overall price tag. Wait and see what the financial aid package opportunity is before making those decisions. But that is a very critical conversation to have as a family in these early stages of the application process. So that way, hopefully, there will not be surprises later after the student starts to receive those admissions offer and financial aid offers for the different universities. And hopefully in everybody's mind, students are looking for a place where they can thrive, get a great education, be well prepared for their career interest, but also be successful and happy and healthy while they are attending the university as well. So we like to always review some of the common admissions terms, so that way just to ensure that families understand what some of those terms are as you run across the applications in these upcoming months. And so with regular decision, that is the historic plan where the students will apply by a certain deadline, usually in the late fall, winter months set by the college, and they find out usually in the spring if they have been accepted, with an opportunity to decide by May 1st if the student will be attending that university. Rolling admissions is great for those likely schools, so that way as your student is waiting to hear back from their other schools, if they have applied to a college that has rolling admissions, that the college accepts as they go. They do not wait to evaluate the entire applicant pool at once. And so, our students will start having decisions from colleges with rolling admission school within a few months. And so that really helps release some of the pressure in the student's mind that, at least I feel some confidence I'm going somewhere for next year. Early action is also a non-binding opportunity for the students where they're applying by the college's early deadline. But they have until May 1st to decide, so they can really still see what other offers and what other financial aid packages they are eligible for before having to make that decision. A lot of our students do like to apply early action because it shows the college that they are really interested in that college. But with early action, it does move up the deadline. It does reduce some of the opportunities for additional testing and those kind of things. And so you would want to make sure that your student is a great candidate for early action based upon the statistics of the college, that your student falls well within those average statistics of the school. My recommendation is if the student is a little bit on the lower side of those statistics, maybe early action is not always in their best interest, because colleges do have the ability to deny from that first round as well. If a student is denied under early application, they are not able to reapply within that year. And so they would be more applying as a transfer student later in the process. There are also some restrictive application plans that some colleges, especially the more competitive colleges, use to gain their applicant pool, the strongest of the strong applicants sometimes. Early decision is a binding plan where students apply by an early deadline, but within that, the family as well as the counselor, they're all signing a commitment that the student is bound to pursue that school, even not knowing what the financial aid package may offer, and that if they are accepted early decision, they will withdraw all other offers, applications rather, for admission to other colleges. Restrictive early action is a bit newer type of application process some colleges are using, where some colleges will say, you're not going to be bound to come to our school. You'll still have until May 1st to decide, but you may only apply to us under early action. You can't apply to any other schools with their own early action programs. You would have to apply for a regular deadline instead. I do encourage families to definitely read the verbiage that the colleges use, because some will say you can't apply to any schools. Some will say you can still apply to your own in-state schools under early action. So each school is a little bit different, so make sure you read the fine print, if you will, for those opportunities with both the early decision and restrictive early action especially. Okay. So of course, grades are important to colleges because that is one of the key factors that they are looking at, as well as the student's course selection. Has the student prepared themselves for the college classes? But also, colleges like to see those upward trends of grades. They understand that freshman year is tough for a lot of students. And so they do like to see that the student continues to grow as they become better self-advocates and to really fine-tune their study skills. Many of the colleges are asking how grading was done or is being done in this COVID situation, because a lot of the school systems did things differently. And so the colleges are really trying to look at the student in context of their environment, both before COVID and now that we're in our COVID pandemic worldwide right now. We're always asked about class rank. For the last couple of years, Cobb County as a whole is not providing rank on transcripts or on any school reports or anything that we complete in your student's college application process. And so for that question on any application, your student will list that my school system does not rank, or they will list the number 0 for their class rank, showing the college that our system does not rank students. We also put that in all the school reports we do, as well as our school profile that colleges receive when the students' transcripts are submitted. So we do not provide class rank. Okay, so with the SAT and ACT, seniors have been given priority for these spring opportunities. I know we're still being asked the question as to whether Walton will be able to continue to host as planned. And as of today, yes, our plan is still to host the test opportunities that Dr. Miranda has applied for. She has fought very hard to be able to still offer this opportunity to especially our seniors because she knows the importance of the SAT and ACT, not just for potential scholarships, honors program, as well as any colleges that may still require the SAT, ACT. We also know that as of right now, the state is still going to require the SAT, ACT score as part of the Zell Miller scholarship process for the end of the senior year. So for Zell Miller scholarship, just a reminder that students must have in one sitting of the SAT a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 composite on the ACT in one sitting as part of their Zell Miller Scholarship eligibility. We will remind students of this many times between now and graduation, but they will need to have their test scores sent directly from the testing agency to the Georgia Student Finance Commission, just like they would have them sent to a college as part of college admissions. And so the state will need those official test scores from the testing agency as part of the Zell Miller eligibility. Okay. Again, check with your individual colleges to see if they have waived the SAT or ACT, if they are giving more weight to other parts of the application, or if they are accepting supplemental information such as additional recommendations or an additional essay, a resume, for example, as part of that process to spread out the weight a little bit more if they have deferred the need of a SAT or ACT for this senior class. With the SAT and ACT, for colleges that do accept it or do require it, many of the colleges are still super scoring the SAT, where if your student does have multiple test scores, that we encourage them to have all of those sent to the college, because some of the schools will take the highest sub-score from the different parts of the SAT, even if those test scores were achieved on different days. With the ACT, there are some schools that do super score, but less than with the SAT. Okay, so these are the upcoming test dates for the SAT and the ACT for this year. The asterisks are to note that these are the SATs and ACTs that Walton has applied to host. And so there are several opportunities in the fall as well as the early spring for our seniors to continue to try to take the SAT and ACT this year. Okay. So with the SAT and ACT, some colleges may have students self-report any scores they have as part of the application. Some of them will use that self-reported score to help support the application and not require an official report from the testing agency, but many will want that official report from the testing agency to support the self-reported score. So with that, we do encourage students, especially now that they have fewer testing opportunities, to go ahead and choose their four schools as part of their registration for the test to receive their scores automatically, because the timeline will unfortunately be tight for a lot of our students this year, that if they wait and see their scores, then ask for the college, then ask for the testing agency, to send them to the college, they may miss a deadline. And so more so than ever before, the students are definitely being encouraged to go ahead and use those free score reports to send their scores to colleges so the college can get them as soon as they're available. The testing agency does not send them immediately when a student does a manual request for them through their testing account login. It may take weeks for the College Board or ACT to send the scores to colleges. So we really encourage the students to start that process early if they do have scores from last fall, for example, that they go ahead and have the testing agency send those to the colleges very early in the application process, many weeks before the deadline, since that is not an instantaneous process. Okay. If any of the college applications request what our high school college testing code is, our CEEB code, we have it listed there on the PowerPoint slide, but it is 111987 if any of the colleges do request that code as part of the application process. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Gross, and she's going to talk about our next several slides.
All right, hey everybody. When we talk about finding the right fit for college, we really want students to explore the campus and to decide if that is the right place for them. They're looking at academic programs, social programs, housing, location, all those factors that Ms. Dunham mentioned earlier. And one of the best ways to do that is for a campus visit. In other times, we would have encouraged students to go and actually visit the campus, take the tour and walk around. Unfortunately, that's not possible right now, but the good news is that there are a lot of other opportunities for students to find ways to learn about the campus online. One of the things that I think has happened in this COVID situation is that colleges have gotten really, really good about sharing information. They are very interested in reaching out to students and getting their information across, and so they have looked for new ways to share that information and to make it available. So I really think now more than ever, the college websites are such a good source of information. So in lieu of taking an on-campus tour, students can take a virtual tour. You would probably register online and you might get with a guide who would walk you through certain things and would give you the admissions presentation and then a virtual view of the campus. Those virtual information sessions really are so important. They provide so much information about academic programs, the admissions process, campus housing, all the things that students are interested in. So I encourage you to do that. Another thing that you can do is sign up for the college mailing list. And one of the things we tell students is that if you're going to sign up for a college mailing list, you need to make sure that you're opening up that email and you're reading it. Because those of you that are in the sales world are familiar with that little CRM known as Salesforce and the customer relationship management systems that track interest. And so when Ms. Dunham talked about demonstrated interest, one of the ways colleges are tracking that is that they are looking at students and how many times they've opened the email, how quickly they've opened the email. And so when they get an essay from a student that says, oh, I've always wanted to go to ABC University, and they've never opened an email along the way, they're getting conflicting stories. So we want to encourage that. The other benefit of getting on that mailing list is that they're going to tell you about special programs. It may be that they're doing a virtual program on a particular major. It may be that they're doing just a general information session, and all those things are very, very helpful. They may offer information about financial aid. The admissions representatives very often will offer Zoom meetings with students. And so students can sit in on these meetings, get a one-on-one with the admissions rep, and just find out more about the college. That being said, you know, anytime you have contact with an admissions representative, it is essentially an interview. And so the students need to behave accordingly. They need to be prepared, they need to ask good questions, and they need to be thoughtful about how they're presenting themselves. For example, if you are having an admission session with a representative from the University of Alabama, I would not recommend that you wear an Auburn shirt. I mean, these are just some of the things that students don't always think about, but you want to be deliberate in how you approach the college campuses. Most college academic programs have either a recruiter or some academic advisor who is responsible for distributing and marketing information about those programs. And those are key people within those academic departments. They may be able to offer your student an opportunity to sit in on a class or to ask some specific questions about a program. They may even be able to connect you with students that are in that program or the opportunity to talk to faculty. So we want you to take advantage of all of that. The other thing is that we encourage our students to attend the college visits at Walton, which this year will be virtual presentations. And Ms. Dunham, if you'll advance the slide for me. Okay, we have some online resources for students, and we presented these last year in the junior presentation, and I wanted to include them in this presentation just so that you have the links. These are online campus visits. One is for virtual tours. The other one is a college planning resource from NACAC, which is the National Association for College Admissions Counselors. They are the definitive organization for everything college admissions. And so they are doing up-to-date reports about colleges that are test optional or have virtual tours or might be offering some on-campus activities. So use that as a resource if you would. All right. If we go to the next slide is about the Walton College presentations. So every year we have about 100 colleges that come to Walton. And typically the person that is coming is the college admissions counselor who is reviewing the application for our students. It is a great way for students to get to know that person, for them to demonstrate interest, for them to demonstrate their capabilities. And sometimes those meetings are small, and it may be that the student gets a one-on-one or a one-on-five opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with representative. Those programs this year will be virtual. They will be offered during non-instructional time, so students don't have to miss class. Those representatives are going to talk about academic and special programs. They'll talk about admissions requirements, campus life, and they're there to answer questions. So your students should come to those prepared. These sessions, although they're virtual, are open only to students, and they're open to juniors and seniors only. Students will have to sign up in Naviance, and they will get links for meetings, and will be able to sign on accordingly. So in the student programs that we ran the last 2 weeks, we talked about how to access these presentations, and all the information on accessing virtual college visits is listed in that other PowerPoint that the students saw, which is posted on the Walton website. I would encourage you to urge your student to check those often. We will probably start our college visits late next week. Nothing is posted as of today, but I expect by the end of the week that will change, because I had several inquiries from college admissions counselors, so we'll be confirming those dates and posting them. Throughout the season, which goes through November, those change weekly. I mean, we get updates and we send them out. I'll send them out. They'll be posted on the website, but students really, really need to check Naviance to find out what's going on and who's coming to campus. Okay. Now we get to the good stuff. All right. So if you think about the college application as if it was a puzzle, and each piece of the puzzle represents a different aspect of your student's picture. The teacher and counselor recommendations present a very definitive picture of the student in a couple of ways. First of all, the counselor recommendation is talking about the overall student and giving them a general representation of what that student is. And in order to do the best that we can, we ask students to fill out the recommendation packet. This was a summer reading assignment, and they were to turn that in to their English teacher for a grade. Students also need to take a copy of that and email it to their counselor, because the English teacher is not going to submit it. And this is part of the information that tells us what colleges you're applying to and gives us some information about that. There is a section in the counselor recommendation packet for parents to fill out. So if your student has not asked you to fill that out, you need to ask them about that and get them to complete that. The counselor recommendation packets are listed under the documents section on the Walton website, so you can find it there. And there's a link to that place as well. If you can go back for a minute, Ms. Dunham, on that slide. The second part of what we're asking students to do is to write a one-page teacher recommendation information sheet. And this is really, really important, because the colleges have specifically asked for information about how the student is doing in their classroom. Are they capable of doing college level work? What type of student are they? And so sometimes I get questions from students and they say, do I need to fill this out? Do I need to answer every question? You know, can I just I can't think of anything. And my response to that is, you really need to do a good job on this information sheet. And the reason I say that is, think about this. You know, we're asking our teachers who know and love our students to write recommendation letters, and each semester they have over 100 students. And you know what? They will remember a student. They will remember that David was a good student. He came to class, he participated, he was nice to people, and he got an A. That they'll remember. But what may be a little bit harder to remember, and what you really want to jog their memory about, is that time that David went above and beyond in a special project. And so I say this as the example of, you know, writing about David as our student, and he's great. However, if David reminds the teacher that, you know, he struggled, he was in a group project and they struggled, they couldn't get going, but he was really proud of the fact that he kept the group together and kept them moving so that they could do a good project, you know, the recommender can say, what I remember most about David was that he really demonstrated great leadership skills in a group project. The group was struggling, he was very compassionate, he was patient, he showed the maturity to keep the group moving forward. He really helped them present a rock solid project. Now, given the choice between the first recommendation and the second recommendation, I think you'll agree everybody wants that second recommendation. And the way to get to that is to help the teachers remember those special moments in the class where the student excelled, or even if the student struggled, but yet worked really hard to overcome that, that difficulty and really stepped up and showed that they are ready to go to college. So students need to give their counselors and their teachers that 3 to 4 weeks to write those letters. So you need to get that information. Students should be sending requests to their teachers, asking them if they'll write the letter. And if they say yes, then they'll need to present their recommendation pages to them and invite them in Naviance. And we have shown the students how to do that so that they can put that information in. So just encourage them to go through and really spend some time on that. All right, so the next part I want to talk about is the college essay. And this is really my favorite because the college essay is no longer the writing sample that you and I wrote when we applied to college, or maybe not you, but definitely me. Colleges were looking to see if I could put together a sentence and a paragraph, and that is not the focus of the college essay anymore. It is really an integral part of the process in a holistic review. It's not just a writing sample, and it needs to be more than a narrative or a resume of what the student has done. Colleges are looking at the essay as the student's voice. They want the student's point of view or their reflection, and they want it to be a thoughtful, well-written piece of writing that sort of gives insight into this student. So we talk about how the essay should tell a story with passion. They should use personal, entertaining anecdotes and showcase character, interests, experiences, ambitions, and even a sense of humor. Sense of humor is an interesting thing. When humor is delivered effectively, it is really, really effective. When it is not delivered effectively, it can be really, really tough. And so I caution students, you know, if you are a funny person and everyone has told you you're a funny person, this may be a great opportunity to write a funny essay. If you have a marvelous story that everyone has said, that is such a funny story, that would make a great college essay, that might be a good, funny college essay. But if no one has ever told you these things, humor in a college essay as your first foray into comedy may not be the best opportunity. So I just caution you to be appropriate with that. All right, on the next slide, we have some information about just mentioning college essays and the supplemental questions. So colleges are also asking for supplemental questions. And a lot of times it's the why are you going here? Why are you interested in that particular subject area? And so you need to explain with passion why you want to do this. You know, if your essay or your short answer response in a supplemental question can be pulled out, I really want to go to Jones University because it's a great, you know, it's a great institution of higher learning with wonderful academic opportunities. And then in the next essay, you pull out Jones University and you put in Smith University. There is a good chance that you are missing the point and you have missed an opportunity to really talk about something very, very specific. So use caution when you're doing that. I would also like students to know that this really needs to be a reflection. So I've got some points here like what you learned, what you know, what you wish you knew, and how you would share that. Please go ahead and include that in your essay, and we're running a little tight on time, so I'm going to skip over the last slide, but when you get a chance, read that quotation because it gives you some insights about how to present yourself in that essay. All right, Ms. Dunham, I'll go back to you.
Sounds great, thank you. So with transcripts, after your student submits the application to the school, then the next step will be to order the transcript. We caution students for schools that are where the applications are school-based, where the student's submitting the application through the college's website, not to order their transcript before they even finish the application because it actually takes the college longer to match the documents. So once the student is getting close to finishing their application, then they can go ahead and request that transcript. It is a two-step process. The first part is making sure that Naviance is set up, so that way we know the student is applying to the college. And so under the colleges tab, they're going to go to their colleges I'm applying to section. That's going to be their primary section in Naviance this year. They will click on the add sign to add the college or university. They'll specify whether it was a common application school or if it's a school that they applied directly to. If it is a coalition school, the student will also choose direct to college as the type when they're setting up Naviance. With those direct to institute schools, we are able to still submit the document of their transcript electronically through Naviance to their university. So they'll add that application in. With Common Application, it's a little bit different. Think of Common Application like a big file cabinet where the student's working on their part, the counselor's working on our part, the teacher's working on their part, and basically the filing cabinet of Common App will hold everything together in storage, if you will, until the pieces are there, and then the college will go in and download it. And so with Common App, that is one example where we can work concurrently with your student on those different pieces. But for the majority of colleges that are not Common Application schools, we definitely want the student to have completed their application first before ordering that transcript. So after they set up Naviance, then the second step this year looks a little bit different due to our starting our school year at home. They will order their transcript then through My Payments Plus. So they will, you as a family will log into your My Payments Plus account. You'll go to the transcript fee and request form. You'll complete the form with your students' information, what college they've applied to. They'll verify that they have set up Naviance already, and then the $2 charge per transcript will be paid through Naviance. So that way we don't have to worry about transcript cards this year. We'll have the documentation of the request that your student is submitting, and that'll take care of the county charge of $2 as well per transcript. And so on Wednesday, students can start may begin requesting the transcripts through My Payments Plus on Wednesday. We counselors are busily checking all of our seniors for graduation. And the plan is to be able to start pushing those transcripts out in the next short time. And so we have turned My Payments Plus on beginning on Wednesday for those requests if your student has already finished any applications. All right, so just a real quick summary, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but hopefully your students have seen the Common Application. that serves as a platform that some colleges are using for their application process. With Common Application, again, it serves as a file cabinet, if you will, to kind of store the different pieces of the application, including the supplement, if that particular college requires a supplement in addition to the traditional Common App questions. The student will order their transcript and will submit it, and then it'll be up to the college to download everything. The nice thing with Common App, it does talk with Naviance. However, there are a couple steps your student needs to do to be able to have those two programs speak with each other, if you will. And so in the Common Application, the student needs to add at least their first college that they are using for the Common Application. Within adding that school, they go into the recommender section and completes the FERPA release. And then in the Naviance side, the student will then put in their Common App email address in the red text box. They can't miss it. And then click match to link those documents, those platforms, if you will, together. There is a video in Naviance going through those step-by-step directions on how to link the Common App and the Naviance account. With Common App, your student is able to monitor under each individual school in the recommendation section what has been submitted. And so they can see the date that their recommender or their counselor submitted the school report. The school report automatically captures the transcript, whether a teacher recommendation has been done, and then you can also see whether the college has downloaded those documents or not. All right, Coalition is another platform that is newer than Common App. They are looking for certain aspects of students. It is to try to make sure the college application process is affordable, accessible, and help students receive or attain their success. And so sometimes the questions look a little bit different. For those colleges that both offer the Common Application and the Coalition, the colleges do not give a preference on what the student uses. So we encourage the student to look at both applications and see which one helps them shine the best, and to use that one if the college does give multiple opportunities for the application. With other schools, they do not use either Common Application or Coalition. And so with those, the college has an electronic application right on their admissions page. The student sets up an account and completes that application. When they're setting up Naviance, they say that you'll set it up as applying directly to the institute. And for the majority of colleges, that still allows us to submit their supporting document of their transcript, and if any recommendations were needed, directly through Naviance. Some of the Georgia colleges will use Georgia Futures as their admissions platform. And so if your student is looking at any Georgia schools, the college's admissions page may redirect them to Georgia Futures for the application itself. And so just be aware of that. The Coalition and Common Application, a lot of the colleges will use one or the other of those, but many of the schools still like their own applications, and they have their own set of questions, and they'll have that right on their admissions page. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to share with you some information that was taken from the University of Georgia website. And there are a couple of reasons that we wanted to share this information. One is everybody asks, what are they looking for? What do colleges want? And the answer to that is usually found on the website. So the University of Georgia has a great website, and they talk specifically about the criteria that they think is important for admissions. And so when we talk to students about going to the website or parents going to the website, we really want to encourage you to do that, because the key information that they are looking for in their applicants is usually presented in some form. In this case, the University of Georgia has said that what they want to see is demonstrated academic interest. It's the primary factor in first-year admission decisions. And they base that on 3 criteria. The student's grade point average. Now, it is a recalculated grade grade point average based on the academic courses in the 5 core areas. It's the math, science, English, social studies, and world language. They recalculate it on a 4.0 scale, and they give 1 additional point for AP class. They do not give points for, unfortunately, for honors classes. The other thing that they look at is the rigor of the student's course selection. And this is where that honors class may come to play, because they can see if the student has taken an on-level course, an honors class, or an AP course. So they will look at that to figure out, has the student challenged himself or herself? Have they taken rigorous courses? Have they tried to advance perhaps in a particular subject area? And it's that rigor assessment that they use in predicting 75% towards academic success. And when Ms. Dunham earlier mentioned that there is a retention rate score, a big part of the retention rate is the student's academic success. So colleges are looking for students that they know will be successful in the classroom. The final component of that would be the students' combination of SAT or ACT scores, and they do super score. They'll take the highest in each category, and they assess that standardized testing is going to comprise the remaining 75% when they're trying to figure out what the student's success rate will be in college. All right, additionally, they are going to look at the completion of courses, making sure that students have completed the mandatory curriculum from the state of Georgia. They're also going to look at recommendations. And there's one line in here that I really want to emphasize. So Georgia offers students the option of submitting an academic letter of recommendation from a teacher, and I strongly recommend that students do that. In the absence of that, they may wonder, why is it that the student couldn't get anybody to write a good letter of recommendation for them? So you want to submit that letter, and they are very, very specific about what they want in that letter. A good letter of recommendation will be from a source who has seen you demonstrate and can vouch for your ability to complete rigorous academic coursework independently. Less effective letters would be vague and less focused on academic performance. So sometimes students want to use a teacher in a non-core class, perhaps if you've been in band for 7 years and you've known this teacher forever, or they want to go with someone from their church or someone from their community. And those are great recommendations for scholarships, but those people cannot effectively discuss how you are as a successful student in a rigorous class. And those rigorous classes usually reflect classes taken in junior and senior year. So please be mindful of that. And all that information, again, from a college will be on a website. If they're restricting your letter of rec, they're going to tell you who they want it from. Finally, conduct issues. They do ask about conduct issues, and we are obligated to report out of school suspensions. All right, you can go to the link at the bottom of this page for more information. We'll jump ahead to the next slide. All right, so some additional factors that they're looking for. They talk about excellence in academic achievement, intellectual pursuits, creative endeavors, commitment to citizenship, public service, community involvement, leadership, family, integrity, personal maturity, able to contribute to a culturally and intellectually diverse community of scholar citizens. So all those components are things that they are looking for in that holistic review. And that can be reflected through a teacher recommendation, a counselor recommendation, through your essay, through your supplemental questions. And so we really encourage you to go to the website to see what the college is looking for and make sure that your application demonstrates those things if you have the skills, if you have the experience in those areas. You know, I talk to students about, you know, the application in some way is your resume of what you've done. And if you were applying for a job as a salesperson, you would never lead with your accounting skills. You want to lead with a thing that is relevant to the job you're applying for or the college you're applying for. So you can get more information about that on the UGA website, and I've got a link for that page. And Ms. Dunham, if you'll take me to the next page. So UGA has 2 rounds of applications. They have an early action or a regular decision. And students will ask themselves which one should they apply to. And the answer is whatever round is going to show you in your best light. So if you want your grades shown through junior year, if they're really strong, if you have good test scores and you're ready to apply, you've got your essay, then go ahead and apply early action. If you're not ready to do that, you need that first semester of senior year, or you think you want to take the test again, then you might want to go regular decision. For those of you that had students that applied a couple years ago, that first round was based on strictly academic criteria, but now the first round and the second round of admissions are holistic review, which means that they are looking at the entire application for these students. So in that early action, there are 3 possible outcomes. You can be admitted, which is perfect, and then you know you're in a university, you can decide to apply to others, or you can just be done, or you can look for scholarships, do other things. You may get deferred because they want a little additional information and want to know some more about what you're doing. They want to see that first semester grade, or you may be denied. That's the third option. We hope it's not that. But do consider what is going to present your best impression and your best overall package as you submit that. All right, so this is the statistics page. I'm not going to go through and read every detail, but you can see typically UGA has about a 48% admit rate overall, and we're showing that middle 50% represents students throughout the entire university. For Walton students, last year we had 233 applications submitted, 133 were accepted, and so it was an admit rate of about 57%. I've got the specific averages for Walton students there, so you can look at that information later. I know we're a little tight on time, and so I am going to turn this over to Ms. Harwood. And Ms. Dunham, I think I'm going to jump over to the later presentation. I know that you guys are waiting to finish. I'm not going to start right away, but I just want to be there in case there are any parents that have jumped in and did not see the first part of the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Gross. Ms. Harwood?
Thank you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Georgia State for admissions, and the statistics are there, which you can also see, and I don't really want to read them to you. But I mean, their overall GPA for students is a 3.3 to a 3.8. So that is a wide range of students who could apply and be accepted to Georgia State. It is the largest university in the state. Being in downtown, having the campus in Perimeter, when they combined, it made it the largest in the state. It is a research university and has a lot of fantastic programs. Highly recommend if you're thinking about, looking for something close by, that you consider that. Walton's class of admitted students, we normally have a large population that usually applies, a large population that are admitted. Only about a third are actually enrolling every year, and that's fine, but at least it's a great school to always have in the back pocket if that's something that's for you. The average GPA for our admitted students, 3.54, 1288 on the SAT, and 27 on the ACT. Next slide. For KSU, they're doing something a little bit different and going more to a competitive model for freshmen and also for transfer students to transfer to KSU. If you have less than 30 hours, you are considered a transfer freshman. They're using a combination of looking at your SAT and your ACT composite scores along with your high school GPA in order to make a determination. They do have mandatory meeting minimum requirements, which used to get you into KSU, but because the applicant pool has gotten so diverse and the GPAs have gone up so much, that just because you meet minimum application standards, does not mean you will be accepted. It used to be a 2.5 minimum GPA and minimum about 990 on the SAT or 18 and 18 on the ACT, but that's no longer how they're really calculating it. So there's a lot to consider when you're applying to KSU, and their diversity of programs is immense. And please check out their website for more details on their whole application process. If you look at how many of our students have applied, we usually have a good number every single year. And we usually have a good number that actually end up enrolling. We have an 86% acceptance rate for our students, which is phenomenal. And it's a great backup school. If you didn't get into UGA and you wanted to stay close to home for a year, then you can look at transferring out. But if KSU is your dream school, it's a fantastic school too. Wide range of programs. A lot of kids start out there and go to other places. So it's always a possibility wherever you want to go. Next one we're going to look at is financial aid planning. This usually gets everyone's attention because paying for college is so important. You have to look at determining actual college cost. We all think of tuition and how much tuition is, but there's a lot more that goes into paying for college. There's a net price calculator on probably every college campus, college website, and it's something that looks at how you are expected to contribute to this. That's C. And this is something that you often can do with when you do the FAFSA and start to that whole process with the federal government and looking at what your contribution would be. And it's not what you might want to pay for school, but is what the government is expecting you to contribute towards your students' education. Different types of financial aid are need-based. So grants are free money that is given by the state, the federal government, or the college itself. Loans come in two types. Generally, if it's a federal loan, it is in the student's name. When they graduate, it is their responsibility to pay it back. Parents can also do private loans, which are generally in the parents' names, and they would be up to you to pay back, and they also usually carry higher interest rates. The federal loans are always going to be, hopefully, the least expensive. There's also work study opportunities where your student can actually work so many hours on a college campus in lieu of a discount for tuition, even almost full tuition at different college campuses. The FAFSA is the free application for financial student aid that the government provides. There is a free application. Please don't ever have to pay for that. There's all sorts of places that say they'll help you fill it out. You can fill it out. It does take some time to sit down and do that, but it's a great thing to do with your student. It's a great time to have that family conversation as to how you are going to pay for college. And that is so important to have if you haven't already had it. You need to know, your student needs to know what's going to be a more proactive area. So it is definitely something to consider. Steps to institutional aid, the CSS profile is usually for private schools. It's in addition to the FAFSA. You generally do the FAFSA for all schools, but there's also the CSS profile. And this is really looking for schools to use early action, early decision institutions. It's a one-time application fee of $25 for one college, and then you pay an additional fee for each additional college that your student applies to. And it's really looking to see what your expected contribution is according to the private schools estimator. So that also puts you in the running for scholarships for the private schools, and depending upon where all your student is applying.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harwood. So Ms. Grunt asked me to cover the next few slides so she could go over and let those know in the waiting room of the second presentation that we're running a little bit behind. But with scholarships, I would definitely encourage students to check with the colleges themselves, because that's where the largest amount of money is available, is through collegiate scholarship opportunities. And so as the student is building their application list and looking at the admissions page, also have them look at the financial aid page of the college, because sometimes the scholarship application is a separate application. For other universities, if the student applies by a certain early deadline, the college will automatically look at them for scholarship potential. So really make sure with each of the schools, you know what type of process they have in place for the scholarships and whether it is a separate application or embedded with applications themselves. Additionally, our county and Ms. Gross will put scholarship information in Naviance. And so I would definitely encourage the seniors to monitor that weekly. Under the college section, go into the scholarship subsection and keep a very close eye on that. With some scholarships, anyone who's interested and meets the qualifications can apply. But with other scholarships, it may be a nomination process where we're able to only submit 1 or 2 students. And so we have an internal process where the student would reach out to Ms. Gross to let her know the interest. They would submit a application, and then our school scholarship committee, which consists of academic teachers from all 5 content areas, will evaluate that scholarship nominee to see whom we should select as our school nominee for that selection. None of us counselors are on that committee, and we're thankful for that because it's a very hard process to look through the scholarship qualifications and submit whom we think has the best chance of moving forward in that competition. But we definitely encourage students to seek out those opportunities. There are national databases that Ms. Gross has on our Naviance financial aid scholarship section as well. But again, we caution if you're ever in a situation where you have to pay to participate in a scholarship database, we discourage that. There are too many free resources out there for our students to be able to look for scholarship monies to pay to participate. And so if you're ever unsure, reach out to us and we'll help you try to vet that opportunity to make sure you're not setting yourself up for a not so great situation. We also wanted to take the quick opportunity to review the Hope Scholarship requirements. For our seniors, we always tell them that their senior grades do matter, both for college admissions, because there have been situations where a college will rescind their offer of admissions in May once they get that student's final transcript, but also because the Hope Scholarship and the Zell Miller Scholarship, that final calculation is completed at the end of the senior year. So we will submit the grades from spring and summer by the district, or the state deadline of September 15th. Our goal was to get those submitted the week of September 2nd. We'll also submit it in late January, early February, including the fall grades, and then in June to capture those spring semester grades. For the Hope Scholarship, it is a 3.0 core recalculated GPA. So just a reminder that honors courses do not receive any extra weight in the Hope calculation. However, AP, International Baccalaureate, which we're not program, or dual enrollment academic classes in those 5 core areas, again, of English, math, science, social studies, and world language, will receive an extra 0.5 in that Hope calculation up to the maximum of an A. And so if a student had an A in AP Human, for example, back in their freshman year, it's still a 4.0 in the calculation, not a 4.5, because there is that 4.0 cap. For the Hope, it covers a percent of tuition. It's been running about 80%, which is wonderful for our families to have that opportunity. For the Zell Miller Scholarship, again, there is that test requirement of a 1200 on the SAT composite 1 sitting, or a 26 on the ACT composite 1 sitting, as well as a 3.7 recalculated core GPA. Again, it only looks at courses under the categories of English, math, science, social studies, and world language state numbers. No weighting for honors classes, a half point extra up to the 4.0 for AP, IB, and dual enrollment classes. But that's 100% of tuition, and so that is truly wonderful when our seniors are able to get that level of recognition and scholarship. Just a reminder that when we submit students' information to the state with their grades and everything, it goes by their social. And so when we submit to you guys next week, there are SAS checks to make sure everybody's on track for graduation. We will include an unofficial copy of the transcript in that. We're planning to print it with the social on, so that way families have another chance to check to make sure we have the accurate Social Security number on file, because it could definitely impact HOPE eligibility if we do not have the correct number. Okay. Also, I would take this opportunity to tell our families with the unofficial transcript that we're going to mail next week, please have your students take a picture of it, save it as a PDF. However, to save that document, because some of the college applications this year will have the student load an unofficial copy of the transcript as part of the application. So we want to send a new one to you guys because a lot of our students did take summer classes, so we want those demonstrated on that transcript that you'll have. All right, we will have a special speaker, as I mentioned earlier this evening, on October 6th. The PTSA calendar originally had the 5th, but our speaker had a conflict, so he's going to join us through a virtual presentation on the 6th at 6:30. He's wonderful and will be very helpful to your families, so try to attend that evening presentation. Mark your calendars now. So final steps. So once your student has applied, they're hopefully keeping up their grades, then once they start to receive those offers of admission, if the restrictions about travel have been reduced, we would encourage students to try to physically visit the college before they make a decision to attend, just to try to get that feeling to make sure that the college will be a good fit before making that final decision. We definitely encourage students to compare those financial aid packages. Unfortunately, with the early decision time frame, if a student's applied early decision, they won't have that opportunity to really compare financial aid packages from different schools. But if they apply early action or regular decision, or if a school has rolling admissions, they will have that opportunity to try to make that decision based upon what you as a family would pay out of pocket. Many of the colleges, if it's not an early decision time frame, will have a May 1st national commitment deadline. And so we encourage students, after they have made that decision, to quickly get that deposit in so they can go ahead and begin their application for housing, because for some schools like KSU, those housing spots are depleted pretty quickly. Again, we remind our seniors to keep those senior grades up because they will need a final transcript in May submitted to their college of choice, because the college will want to verify the student has graduated and maintained the grades that basically they had upon the application, to make sure that they have not developed senioritis and really developed a work ethic that they would not want to start college with. Okay. Just a quick reminder, students will access Naviance through their Walton website. There's an icon in the top right corner to access Naviance. It will have them log into their 365 account that they have through the school system. For parents, if you're an established family who's already had a Naviance account, we have the website listed there where you'll go in and put in your email address and password. So that way, as a parent, you'll be able to kind of see where your student is and setting up their colleges they're applying to and requesting transcripts and such. If you never set up a parent account, email your Alpha counselor or Miss Faye so we can send you the parent code to be able to set up Naviance that first time. And if you are a brand new Walton senior family, we definitely welcome you. And there will be information coming to you later this week from the district about your Naviance access, this platform that helps support our students in their college research and application process. Okay, so the final slides are actually hot off the press. We received information from NCAA late last week that they have also waived their SAT, ACT requirement for students that will be starting their collegiate experience the fall of next year. And so basically that has been waived. They will be given everyone an automatic waiver if they meet the GPA requirement. So for Division I sports, the student must have a 2.3 in the 16 core courses. They have to have 10 core courses locked in by the end of their junior year, and then they will take their remaining courses to lock in the 16. So the final GPA must be at least a 2.3. For Division II schools, it must be at least a 2.2 in the 16 core classes. Okay. Last slide before we transition those who would like to go to the highly selective college presentation. But we want to give our thanks to Ms. Watford for giving us a new and improved website. Hopefully you'll find it to be very user-friendly. It has now been connected on the Walton website under departments, or you may go directly there by going to the waltonhighcounseling.com website. Ms. Alpert has also helped us get with the times and has Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter Walton accounts for us as counselors now, where she will be posting information about upcoming opportunities and events that are, college oriented, local, just any opportunity. One note though, that the comments on all of those social media accounts have been disabled or hidden. And so we're not able to see posts on those. So if you do have any questions about anything that you see on any of our social media posts, please contact us counselors directly, because we will not see comments posted on the social media accounts. Okay, so again, I apologize for going 30 minutes over, but hopefully your families have found this presentation packed with helpful information. For those that would like to switch to the highly selective, please exit this presentation. You will want to close your Zoom account completely and then relaunch it with the meeting code information, or if you have the original link that we sent out Thursday or we sent out this afternoon, you may connect through that now. There will be a question and answer time at the end of that presentation for those who are not staying with us. But we wanted to try to answer any questions you have for those that are still with us. And so, Ms. Fay, are there any questions that have been posted to the chat board that have not yet been answered?
I've been trying to answer questions as they have been asked. I believe I have gotten to most questions. If I did not answer your question, if you could go ahead and put it, I'm happy to address it with Ms. Dunham.
I'm going to leave that up for just another moment in case people need the numbers for the Zoom ID and the passcode.
There was questions about the Georgia, the Peach State tours, and I did read on their website, it looks like the Atlanta Metro ones are closed, but in the registration it says you could register for other sessions not in your area that aren't closed. So if the Metro ones are closed, I would encourage you to look at some of the ones in the other areas and try to register for those.
And in fact, I did that for the counselor presentation because the one in our area was closed. So I did that as well from the counselor side. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Ms. Fay, in the chat?
Just to reiterate, the transcript request, we told your students it goes live on August 26th. So if you have been trying to request your transcripts, that form is not available till August 26th.